Black record stations in particular were never enthusiastic about playing music by an openly gay and as Jet, and it's always Jet. Let me see what these motherfuckers say. After the Opera House, Sylvester started inviting Jeannie to sing with him and the Tons at the Circle Star Theater in San Carlos, where they were opening for Dionne Warwick. She had learned the material already, so her first concern was what she would wear. She did her best to match the Tons' outfits. After that, Sylvester asked Jeannie to stay. Jeannie learned how to beat her face in the car with makeup, that is, and how to sleep almost anywhere. For a model, she could watch Izora, who would sometimes be fast asleep in a chair by the side of the stage getting her makeup done, while Sylvester was starting the first song until Robert Pentazzi told her, "Okay, Izora, it's time," at which point she'd whip off her massive glasses. When he say massive glasses, is he talking about the thickness or the size of the glasses? Oh, us girls with stigmatisms, we can be a bit sensitive at a time or two, because I know I am. And I just be so happy to see another woman who boldly wears her glasses out in public. I be like, you go, girl. You do what I have trouble doing, wearing thick-ass glasses. Oh. Let me tell you what's funny. I had seen a guy that I grew up with who I've had so much respect for, but he ain't the type to really give a hell about what nobody said about him anyway or thought about him. Sagittarian man, just very powerful, just radiates power. Child, he wore glasses, but over the years, them blickers got thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And now that he is in his 50s or mid-50s now, them glasses so goddamn thick, he probably need one of them rolling suitcases to carry them motherfuckers, okay? But I applaud anybody who can wear them thick glasses, who have a super stigmatism like what I have, and just go about life. Now that I'm older, I really be wearing them blickers. Like, if y'all see me out in public and be shocked at how thick my glasses be, just keep on talking to me like you don't even see it, okay? Don't make it a topic of conversation. After a while, Jeannie knew to jump on the note she wanted to sing before Martha or Izora stole her part. Ooh, divas. She learned how to change the lyrics on stage to make Sylvester, Martha, and Izora laugh. You make me feel mighty ill, they like to sing, and cooking on my feet with the disco meat. Girl, but to do it without the audience knowing. Now that sounds like a good time. Sylvester had tendency to turn women he liked into his sisters. And so he did with friend Leslie Stovall, a DJ he had met the year before. Sylvester had introduced himself to her at a Black Awards ceremony where, sporting her pearls, she was standing in the corner. Sylvester, wearing a big-shouldered sequin suit, had walked right up to her, given her a look and said, "Well, you are a lady of quality." He wanted to know what such a lady was doing in the music business. "It's pearls before swine," he suggested. Soon he and Leslie were each other's regular date for music industry parties, which they called industry nights. Neither of them liked to go out alone, and Leslie, a little glamour girl, became his little upper-class black girlfriend, she says. She put on her pearls and he his sequins, and they drank cocktails and spoke of Europe. Often Sylvester would just drop by the radio station and keep company with her. She would sit on his lap, and they would sing and chat and play records, including his. They would speak in nice tones, admiring the timbre of each other's voices. Leslie was skinny, so Sylvester always looked to feed her. When her shift was over, Sylvester would bring her to his house to eat marijuana brownies, then take her out for a tuna sandwich, macaroni and cheese, and milkshakes. What the fuck kind of nutrition? Sylvester rarely spoke to Leslie or any of his other San Francisco friends about his childhood, but he never lost touch with his family. Letha and the twins came to visit every once in a while, and his brother Larry, too, who was drifting around, landed for a brief spell in San Francisco. Sometimes his grandma, Juju, sent up something she had cooked. He attended Bernadine's wedding in Los Angeles wearing a loose African print robe and a shoulder-length swept back wig. Right around the time Sylvester became an international disco star, it was decreed throughout the land that disco sucked. We talked about this earlier and why. Right around the time Sylvester became an international disco star, it was decreed throughout the land that disco sucked. The people who decided this were certain of themselves, and they espoused their cause with an enthusiasm that would have been amusing had it not also been ugly. One night in July 1979, for example, the Chicago rock DJ Stephen Dahl and the Chicago White Sox promoter Mike Vick organized a disco demolition night in Comiskey Park during a doubleheader with the Detroit Tigers. So let's say this before we get forward. I would say that disco sucks movement would be the first representation of the cancel culture. And it was before the internet. Man, but it got out there. And that thing moved so quickly, destroying so many lives. Because it's not just about canceling disco. It's about canceling disco artists' income and all things that they support through that income. Who the hell are you to just get together and just be like, okay, we don't like him no more? One night in July 1979, for example, the Chicago rock DJ Stephen Dahl and the Chicago White Sox promoter Mike Vick organized a disco demolition night in Comiskey Park during a doubleheader with the Detroit Tigers. For those who brought a disco record, admission was only 98 cents. The plan was to take all the records, throw them in a dumpster in the middle of the field between games, and blow them up. Handmade disco sucks banners dotted the park. And in addition to the 50,000 or so fans in the stands, 10,000 odd more milled around outside. Inside the stadium, the crowd chanted, "Disco sucks," and threw disco record frisbees onto the field during the first game. First of all, what's the promoter name? Promoter man name? Whatever's your baseball. Don't you supposed to be worried about baseball? Why the fuck are you even worried about music? This is baseball. Do baseball. Just why disco caused certain people so much distress is not entirely clear, but the combination of professional sports, military symbolism, a blonde pinup, rock and roll, fires, and violence may offer a clue. There's something familiar about the scene of white people denouncing some form of black music as stupid, lazy, animalistic, and inferior. That sounds like haters to me. That sounds like haterade to me. I'm mad I can't do it, so you can't do it neither. Disco haters weren't happy about the unabashedly female and gay sexuality of disco music and disco culture. I didn't talk about the people having disdain for the gay culture and associating sexuality with the music. I'd never even thought about that. When I was enjoying disco as a child back in the late 70s, early 80s, I didn't think of it as a gay form of music. But that's what the powers that be did. They associated it with gay people. And at the time, believe it or not, gay was a mental illness. I can't believe that. I don't know. I don't even know if they put it on the list of mental illness because they actually considered it a mental illness, or because some sick mother hunchies was like, oh, my son is displaying some odd behavior, so we need to label this a mental illness. You know, my daughter is, looking too hard at her friends, so no. The real animosity between rock and disco lay in the straight white male. In the rock world, he was the undisputed top, while in disco, he was subject to a radical decentering. Being radically decentered can make you want to blow something up. Disco at heart saw things from the point of view of women, black women especially, and had high expectations of straight men. If you were a straight man, you were expected to be able to give Donna Summer multiple orgasms and to be able to dance. Disco favored sparkle, fever, and le freak. Only by killing disco could rock affirm its threatened masculinity. That sucks was the word chosen to denigrate disco in no accident. In any event, by late 1979, the music industry had dropped disco like an extremely hot potato. Now that's heartbreaking. The first months of 1980, the top-selling U.S. pop album belonged to Donna Summer and the Bee Gees, but after that, the list was dominated by rockers like Pink Floyd, Bob Seger, the Rolling Stones, Queen, and Bruce Springsteen. And then the next year by REO Speedwagon, Styx, Foreigner, Journey, and AC/DC. The song that took over America in 1980 was Pink Floyd's rock anthem, Another Brick in the Wall, which was usually chanted while pounding a fist into the air. I remember that song too, because I told y'all I used to watch Friday night videos. The San Francisco DJ and record producer Johnny Disco Hedges was at the 1980 Billboard Disco Forum with a bunch of dance records out, a couple of them climbing up the charts. The year before, when Sylvester was taking home all the awards, there had been a brash confidence at the convention. But this year, there was an edge of nervous energy. At the New York City Gay Pride Parade a few weeks earlier, Hedges took a Polaroid of a gay man standing against a lamppost wearing a Disco Sucks t-shirt. Uh-oh, he thought. And he was right. Come on, gay man, what you doing? Fame is known to be powerful enough to make hatred go limp. But it works more like a narcotic than like surgery. The hatred perks back up after the initial buzz. At first, fame works mostly as a buffer. A star is an individual above and beyond any social category. A star, by definition, is loved, not despised. But as time wears on and a famous person becomes more familiar, the shield morphs into a bullseye. The star becomes a target for ordinary contempt, magnified and purified by the star's visibility. Often, in fact, the star status gets turned against the star, whose above it all elevation becomes another reason to hate her. The dynamic has been especially pronounced with respect to American black stars who have the audacity to behave as if their place is above rather than below. In a conservative industry, and with disco crashing, the fantasy records honchos referred to by everyone else as the label simply as Upstairs were extra concerned about both costs and Sylvester's image. Black record stations in particular were never enthusiastic about playing music by an openly gay, and as Jet, and it's always Jet. Let me see what these motherfuckers say. And as Jet invariably and winkingly described him, flamboyant artist. Every time a station turned down his records, it called into question how he was handling his career, says Terry Hint, who worked downstairs but was in close contact with Upstairs. They weren't playing the guy's records because he's too outrageous, too outrageously gay. At the time, it really felt like if we did what he wanted to do, he'd just be dismissed. He'd be defined by that, and the music would be completely overlooked. Fantasy wanted to Teddy Pendergrass him. Pendergrass has become a soul star with lady killer songs like Close the Door and Turn Off the Lights, and he wore open shirts with gold chains. Molding Sylvester into something similar could be a challenge, the fantasy folks knew. As the writer James Earl Hurdy has put it, while Pendergrass has women throwing their panties at him on stage, Sylvester was wearing them. Now, that's a bit disrespectful. Yet asked if he would please tone it down a bit, Sylvester said, maybe. He liked to live well. He was not above trying things that might get his music heard. Sylvester went along with the fantasy makeover program in bits and pieces, just as he had tried to do a few years earlier. Sylvester began talking to reporters about his new image, which involved one shocked journalist recounted his own hair, slacks, and a simple shirt that is almost a t-shirt. Sylvester promoted the idea that the media had built this disco thing up out of all proportion, in my case, and that there is so much more to Sylvester. He called his next album, released in 1980, Sell My Soul.